Okay, today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books. This is Kafka's The Trial. And this is a book that I don't think I've talked about recently, but it's something that I truly loved when I read because it seems to transcend its time. When you read Kafka's The Trial, it poses a question: do we ever live in a just society? Do we ever live in a system that can carry out justice, or are people's interests inherently going to be represented at the expense of the people on trial? And I think it's something that is not beyond our criticism, and we live in a day and age where I don't think there's been less support in the public policy. I don't think there's been less support in terms of what is seen as the official story, the official narrative, and the systems and the powers that be. And Kafka perhaps puts this best through his story of the trial. I'm not going to spoil every single detail. I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm going to go over the things I found interesting, why I think you should read this book, and why it's something that kind of will be read forever. And if you've never been acquainted with Kafka's style, Kafka is very unique. Kafka is someone that is one of the greatest writers of all time, but never received success during his lifetime. So most of his works are shaded by this experience. Most of his works are depressive and don't have happy endings and really start to unravel, and situations become worse, and they become even worse than you can even imagine. And that's the easiest way to describe his style. Some of his most famous stories are a traveling salesman turns into a beetle hybrid, and he slowly fades away as his family grows to resent him. And that's the kind of wicked stories that you get out of Kafka's mind. But this story is more of a novel, and it's a novel surrounding a man who is put on trial for something he has no idea what is it for. And basically the course of the story is him trying to get information and find all these different people and try to influence it in his favor through all of these different methods. And through this, you see how many people have a hand on the justice system. You see how many people have an effect, a pull, some sort of say. And it's a dystopian novel, yet at the same time it's the truth. And the truth is the systems are made up of people, and can people ever render a fair judgment? Can people ever get beyond their own bias? Can people ever get beyond their own ego and rule objectively? And I think this is something that's coming to a head today, and I think this is something that's never been more apparent. And perhaps it's due to the internet, perhaps it's due to the availability of the information and the lack of censorship when it comes to the news, because the news has never been more objective. It's never also been more false, but I think the more perspectives you can see, the more you can kind of see through the facade. But anyway, those are deeper intellectual pathways that we can go through in another video. But what this book does really, really well is it shows you that if the court system, if the justice system wants to go after you, they can. And that's not necessarily true in every country, but there are certainly miscarriages of justice, and there are certainly things that have always gotten people in hot water. You can think of the Red Scare in America, where basically people were put on trial for political beliefs. And it's very ironic that the land of the free has a policy like this. There's various other things in other countries that would point to the same, but it goes to show that these systems are not perfect. These systems are not fallible. And basically, what I think Kafka does so well in this story is he puts you in the perspective of someone who believes he's done nothing wrong, who can't find evidence to be guilty about. Because most of the time when you read a story, most of the time when you hear someone's side of the things, there's at least some wrong. There's at least some reason they're there. But because Kafka doesn't even give the reason, because the author himself is not guilty, because he is not aware of what's happened, it adds to the level of fear, it adds to the level of paranoia. And it's in my mind a better novel in terms of dystopian than 1984, than Brave New World, and I really, really love it. And the most interesting part about this book is something that hit me the other day, and this is much of the reason why I'm covering it today, is because Kafka himself was a lawyer. Kafka himself was an attorney. He saw the wheels of justice spin. He saw what he, I'm guessing, thought was not justice being served. He saw people with winning cases. He was a attorney for an insurance company, so I mean, plaintiff or defendant, what that means is he's trying to save the company money. He's trying to regain the money that the insurance company lent out for these cases, and through this, he's having to sacrifice his values. Through this, he's having to curtail what it is that he wants in his heart versus what he wants in the material world. And I think these are all interesting considerations, and these really pose an interesting question. And I think the most haunting part of Kafka's The Trial is that even in Kafka's dystopian world, he did not imagine the ability to drug test. He did not imagine the ability to take someone's urine and test it for, whatever substances they're using. And this is the point that Robert Anton Wilson made. And it is so horrific. It is so weird that we subject ourselves to this level of testing. We subject ourselves to this level of scrutiny. And, a body of power and a system can have that much power over us. And it really... I don't know what to say aside from this novel will get you thinking, and this novel will haunt you, but will also inspire you because it's a Kafka novel, and the point of a Kafka novel is not to be happy, it's to think. And that's really the greatest part of it. It's so unlike every other style of writing that you're going to fall in love with it if you're against conventions. And if you know me, that's something I'm against. I'm against the boring fairy tale ending where everything works out, because that's not real life. Real life has its ups, its downs, and usually things don't get resolved. Usually the situations just change and we adapt and we have to move forward. And that's something that happens in the trial, and that's something that happens in life. And pick this book up if you liked anything I just said, because this book will impress you. You will fall in love with Kafka. He is one of the best writers of all time, and there's a reason that his books have remained. There's a reason that after his death, when these things were published, that he shot up to superstardom. It's because he speaks to a aspect of society. He speaks to a darker nature of humanity. He saw through the cracks. He saw through the fake niceness and to what these systems are capable of when they're used for wrong. What these systems are capable of when they are used for nefarious purposes and used for the advancement of the own ego. And it's very interesting to not even have a dystopian novel in the sense of an Orwell or the sense of a Huxley, and everything's wrong. It's just this one facet of life is wrong, and it really begs to question, can we ever carry out justice? And that's the central theme of the book. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Love you guys so much. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one.